Are you trying to put a target on me? You keep saying I'm Hamas, and you support killing Hamas.
You've done it with Elon.
Do you want to kill me? You're on Piers Morgan. I get to speak. We're not in Gaza. You don't get to kill me as a journalist. I get.
An absolutely disturbing video here from the latest Piers Morgan episode where he has Mehdi Hasan and this guy, Jonathan, Israeli former IDF propaganda machine extraordinaire. And there are actually going to be like some really heated moments here. There are some threats flying back and forth. And it's just really, you know, the conversation has devolved so horribly to this point. The conversation should have been over, you know, years ago. But here we are still watching these atrocities unfold and people still trying to come out and defend them and vociferously defend them. And it's just, you know, it blows your mind every time you hear it. So let the clip play out. I'll jump in the middle, have a couple of thoughts, and yeah, well, let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. And here we go.
By Netanyahu, that the reason he is being so gung-ho about continuing with this is that President Trump has urged him to finish the war in Gaza with full force. What should we read into that?
Yeah, I think we should read into that Donald Trump is 100% behind Netanyahu, as some of us warned he would be. I think there were some people who thought that there would be some daylight between Trump and Netanyahu, that Trump would somehow be better on Gaza than Biden and Harris were. And that's, as I've told you before, Piers, your pal Donald is full on the ethnic cleansing, the ridiculous Gaza Riviera plan, allegedly involving Tony Blair and Jared Kushner at the White House, outrageous open plans for ethnic cleansing, all signed off on by Donald Trump, who said earlier this year that Palestinians will have to leave Gaza and not come back, which is the definition of ethnic cleansing. That is what Israel and the American government are planning and cooking up for the people of Gaza. It's why the world has now turned belatedly against Israel and on this genocide, because it's so brazen what they're doing in terms of the man-made famine, in terms of the ethnic cleansing, all of this stuff. And, you know, the hostage canard keeps being put forward. Jonathan said earlier, oh, it's a partial deal. Yeah. That's what the Israelis wanted. The great irony is Hamas wanted a permanent deal, all the hostages for an end to the war. Netanyahu said no, partial deal. Hamas agreed to that too, so they keep moving the goalposts because he doesn't want to end the war, Piers. Matthew Miller, Biden's former State Department spokesman, said recently that when he spoke to Netanyahu last year, Netanyahu said openly, we're going to be fighting for decades in Gaza. He wants this war to continue for his own reasons, for the ideological reasons of his cabinet allies, and the military, you know, the Israeli military has now come to its senses saying this is not helping. This is the same Israeli military that has committed multiple war crimes. I mean, Jonathan talked earlier about, you know, what the purpose of combat is. He said he was a proud IDF man. He's proudly part of a military that last week bombed a hospital not once but twice, a double tap strike, according to CNN, triple tap strike, killing emergency responders, journalists, aid workers in front of our eyes. That is his glorious military. It's an Israeli military which, according to Dr. Nick Maynard, Piers, who you know, British doctor, I interviewed him last month, he said he treated Palestinian teenagers in his hospital in Gaza over the summer who were shot in the testicles, multiple children shot in the testicles by Jonathan's military, the same military that killed 15 paramedics in April, and then just buried them with their ambulances in the sand. They were buried in the sand by the Israeli military in April. They lied, the Israelis. They said, oh, the lights were off. We didn't know who they were. Hamas were firing. Turned out all to be a lie. You know what the Israelis did, Piers? They fired the deputy commander. That's it. Nobody went to prison. No one was charged. They murdered 15 people. That's the military that Jonathan's come to defend. The most immoral military right now in the world that is bombing hospitals in front of our eyes.
Jonathan?
Yeah, it's, you know, it's various levels of ridiculous. But listen, Mehdi, there's been a job opening. Israel finally got rid of Abu Ubaidah, a very prolific and well-to-do Hamas
You've really got to get better with your Hamas propaganda. You're a racist,
small man.
genocidal, war criminal.
Man.
You support war criminals. Well, you're trying to put a target on me? Are you and Elon Levy trying to put a target on me? Are you trying to put a target on me? You keep saying I'm Hamas, and you support killing Hamas.
You've done it with Elon, and it won't work with me, little Mehdi. Little Mehdi, you've done that shtick with Elon, it doesn't impress me. But I'm telling you is that if you improve your Arabic just a bit,
you keep saying I'm Hamas based on nothing.
If you improve your Arabic just a bit, I think you are well on track to become a very prolific spokesperson for Hamas.
Your troops engaged in sexual violence against Palestinian women.
Abu Ubaidah.
You're being investigated in the International Criminal Court.
Touting Hamas's propaganda lies.
That is committing genocide, Jonathan.
Mehdi, you are touting Hamas's propaganda lies.
You are
regurgitating things from April and from September.
The genocidal Israeli military.
Let me jump in. Jonathan, let me jump in, please.
Israeli military.
All right.
And now you want to kill every journalist that speaks out against you.
Yeah, Jonathan.
You killed 5 journalists last week.
Jonathan,
on that,
but I think you would do an excellent job at replacing Abu Ubaidah.
Your military killed 5 journalists.
Let me ask a question, please.
And you're doing a great job And you're doing a great job as Julius Streicher.
All right, let me ask a question because nobody can hear either of you. Nobody can hear either of you.
That's how history will remember you.
Let me ask you, Jonathan. Jonathan, about the incident. Jonathan, let me speak. About the incident that Mehdi's alluding to.
He doesn't want to talk about the hospital.
I'm just about to ask him about the hospital. If you let me do my job. Let me please ask you a question and do my job. So, Jonathan, the incident that Mehdi is alluding to, the double tap attack on a hospital which killed 5 journalists. This takes the total of journalists to over 200. There are now journalists all over the world who are protesting about this. People from CNN, from Reuters, from AP, from every serious news organization in the world, saying that there is a mini genocide going on with actual journalists in Gaza, and that the only reason for this, the deliberate systematic attacks on journalists, is because Israel does not want people reporting on what is actually happening there. I know you agree with me, because you said it many times, that Israel should allow the international media in to do their jobs. But so far, they're not doing that. They're only allowing in certain friendly journalists embedded with the IDF to report what they want them to report. But until there is free, unfettered access of journalists into that region to report on this stuff, there is a belief that Israel is going about now deliberately and systematically killing Palestinian journalists to silence them. What is your response to that?
Yeah, that belief is wrong, and I have a few things to say. First, about the horrible
tragic mistake at Nasser Hospital. That is not what I envision in terms of Israeli operations. That is a tactical mistake by forces on the ground that saw a camera on top of a building, assessed that the camera was operated by Hamas, because Hamas has been operating cameras from all civilian buildings, including from hospitals, in order to monitor the troop movement of Israeli troops and then to detonate IEDs or otherwise to direct combat activity against Israeli troops. And that is why when Israeli troops saw that camera and other activity on top of that building, they engaged. Regretfully, 5 journalists, some of them working for international media outlets, were killed. That is not a desired outcome. That is a mistake, and that should not happen on the battlefield. Full stop. 6 terrorists were also killed in that attack. When I spoke with 6 Hamas known operatives were killed. When I spoke with people in the IDF, my questions were actually about the second strike, which we saw live on an Arabic network, which I agree looks horrible, should not happen, and is something that I'm waiting for the IDF to investigate and to present findings and to say this is why the mistake happened and these are the steps that we have taken in order to rectify it. And I believe that the IDF will do that, and I believe that this is not what the IDF was seeking to achieve, because it was very clearly aid workers and others that were trying to rescue people that were wounded from the first engagement. So this was not intentional. This was a
battlefield mistake in chaotic or very different.
This guy filibusters like nobody else. Once he gets going, that's why Mehdi is trying to like jump in and cut off and like, you know, at least give another counterpoint, because once this guy gets going, the propaganda machine, his mouth is just a nonstop like propaganda wind-up doll. It just keeps going and going and going and going, and it's absolutely insufferable. Let's see if Mehdi can actually cut him off here.
Difficult combat environment of troops that are under fire from civilian buildings where the enemy uses hospitals and schools and mosques and houses in order to fire from. This is the reality in Gaza made by Hamas, which we many times gloss over. No, as I said, they were from that. But first of all, Hamas has fired from the Nasser hospital several times in the past, and Hamas has been using cameras from various buildings, mosques, schools, and hospitals in Khan Yunis, in Gaza, in Rafah, in all of the Palestinian villages and cities. And that is why the IDF thought that the cameras that they saw were linked to Hamas. But I'm saying it very clearly, that was not the intended outcome.
It's like, look, all we can do is speculate, but we've seen, you know, the interviews, the behind the scenes footage, the, you know, the interviews with IDF soldiers. They view all Palestinians, all people in any, you know, vicinity of Gaza as terrorists, whether you're a man, woman, children, journalist, old man, you know, disabled, whatever. They don't make the distinction. They want to destroy all of them. And so we're going to sit here and say, wow, they made a mistake. It was a tactical error. Oh, they're so sorry. You know, the people on the outside they're going to investigate it and they're going to find us. No. Probably, again, we don't know. These are just based on the history of what we've seen. They did their first tap and then they saw the aid workers. They got the information that there were journalists, aid workers coming in, and they saw it as another opportunity for terrorism, which is what they're trying to do, terror and shock and awe, to cripple this population and to, you know, get them to submit and leave finally, you know, whether forced or not, or just completely decimated and destroyed. And they took it as an opportunity to do a hellish strike and take out more innocent people.
Can I respond, Piers?
Yeah.
So on this hospital attack, let's just be very clear here, because so much gaslighting going on here. First of all, I'm old enough to remember October 2023 when the world went mad to suggest that Israel would ever attack a hospital. We were told for months Israel would never attack a hospital. Now they proudly attack a hospital and try and justify it with nonsense justifications. We attacked it because there was a Hamas camera on the roof. First of all, it wasn't a Hamas camera. It was a Reuters camera. Reuters already gave the Israeli military their positions. There were no Hamas cameras on the roof. It's a ridiculous new phase of Israeli propaganda to say it was a Hamas camera justified killing 20 people, which was insane. Okay, let me speak. If you stop interrupting. If you stop interrupting, then I'll deal with that lie. You already said it. You said there was some...
Let Mehdi respond, please.
You're lying.
Hamas terrorists.
Let Mehdi respond.
I never get through a single answer on this show.
Let Mehdi respond.
6 Hamas operatives were not killed. You claim they were killed. No evidence has been provided to the international media that there were 6 Hamas operatives there. In fact, the 6 photos that were released here, 2 of them were killed the day before. One of them was a well-known local firefighter who Israel had already dealt with. They were not 6 Hamas operatives who were killed in that strike. As for it being a mistake, how can it be a mistake, Piers, when it was a double? Can you shut up so I can finish a sentence?
Unbelievable.
Am I going to get to speak on this show?
Jonathan,
you're just going to let one person speak all the time?
But I mean, if you're going to lie and you're going to expect me to
you both accuse each other of lying all the time.
Just the ultimate levels of gaslighting from this guy. It is unbearable. It's unbelievable.
Your lies,
Let Mehdi respond, then you can respond back.
And the world can see that... Jonathan, we're on Piers Morgan. I get to speak. We're not in Gaza. You don't get to kill me as a journalist. I get to speak here and point out that the journalists were killed in a double-tap strike. There's no way you can call that a mistake.
You do in life
he can't shut up, can he, Piers?
The only thing you do in life is lie and take money from the Qataris.
I'm going to keep speaking and make my point, like I said. All right, let me know, Piers, when I can speak.
Jonathan, please let him respond.
Because he won't shut up. I need to be able to make a point.
No one can understand you when you talk over each other.
6 Hamas operatives were not killed.
Mehdi, finish your point.
6 Hamas operatives were not killed. 6 Hamas, I barely started it. 6 Hamas operatives were not killed. Israel claims they were killed. It's been debunked. 20 people were killed, including 5 journalists. It couldn't have been a tragic mistake, as Jonathan claims, because it was a double-tap strike. The Israeli media have reported that the Israeli military did it deliberately. In Israel, in Hebrew, they're not saying it was accident. They said it was a coordinated attack. A double-tap strike. How do you explain a second strike 9 minutes later? There is no mistake. It's what Boko Haram, ISIS, Al-Qaeda do. It's deliberately to kill emergency responders. 972, an Israeli media organization, says it is now standard procedure for the Israeli military to do double-tap strikes. Last summer in Mawasi, the New York Times has video of the Israelis doing a double-tap strike on Palestinian paramedics. You know what Israel said at the time, Piers? We will investigate this incident. Guess what? A year later, no investigation. No one was charged. No one was punished. They always say this to gullible interviewers in the West. Well, we're investigating this mistake. Not a single Israeli soldier has gone to prison for killing anyone in Gaza since October 2023. You'll remember, Piers, I said that to Alan Dershowitz on your show. I remain to be fact-checked. It is true. Nobody went to prison for killing 15 paramedics in April. Nobody went to prison for the Mawasi double attack last summer. No one will go to prison for killing 20 people in this hospital. Jonathan and his military love to do war crimes, and no one holds them to account.
Jonathan?
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're not going to sit here and listen for another disgusting, disturbing, propagandized rant from this Jonathan. Just one of the absolute worst figures that you can find covering this thing. Let me know what you guys think about that exchange in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video.